Hi, my name is Jerry Wise. I'm the director for the Center for Self-Differentiation at Family Tree Counseling Associates in Carmel, Indiana, on the north side of Indianapolis. And I'm a relationship expert and a family expert. I provide professional services out of my office and online, Skype, FaceTime, by phone. And I have over 100 free videos on YouTube. And I hope you'll take a look at those. If you'd like a listing of all those, please email me. I'll send them to you. Having worked with clients for over 35 years, I continue to use a way of thinking that helps clients resolve deadlocks, helps you to gain insight into your past, and train you for the present in the work of self-differentiation. Recently, I was doing some training for some therapists that I work with, and they were training to learn how to do more and how to do better with couples work that they do. And I recently made this point, and it was, they were asking me, could you train us more on how to deal with couples in which there's been an affair? And throughout the training, one of the things I said was, extramarital affairs begin in childhood. And that's the name of this video. And I asked them, well, when do you think extramarital affairs start? Or when do you think couples would tell you that extramarital affairs start? And they said, well, the first time the couple makes, one of the spouses makes that bad decision to start an affair. And I said, oh, no. They start long before then. That's just the culmination of years of imprinting, difficulties in self-differentiation, difficulties in intimacy, etc. And I said extramarital affairs really do begin in childhood. And then we went on to explore even more. I think extramarital affairs can also be defended to say they probably started 2 to 3 to even 4 generations back. And we are the result of all of that intergenerational transmission of emotional imprinting in which we are set up for having an affair. Certainly this is true. Certainly couples do start down a bad path when one of the spouses decide they're going to have an affair, emotional affair often to begin with, then it becomes physical. And that is the beginning of a story. But affairs have a very long history. Often they're embedded into the spouse long ago and embedded into the family of origin long ago. Even the betrayed spouse has a long history, which was a setup for this tragic marital breakdown. So what do I mean that they begin in childhood? In many cases, there might be an obvious and clear and overt, easily seen, intergenerational transmission of extramarital affairs. Literally, the parents or the grandparents have had their own affairs or infidelity. And so we can see very readily that there's been affairs in the past. And that grandparents and parents have had affairs. The emotional field of dealing with marital issues and personal issues then becomes psychologically inherited by the children. Now, well, what if there are no affairs? Well, my parents didn't have any affairs, my grandparents didn't have any affairs, maybe an uncle and aunt did, but, if no affairs, then the family of origin has a long history of being dysfunctional and toxic to building self-esteem, self-differentiation, and self-awareness, etc. And so there's often that baggage that has long set up this couple for an affair. But what about the families in which occasionally I hear that my parents and grandparents have always been faithful to each other, they've been married for 35, 40, 50 years, and they were great parents. So why did our marriage have an affair? Why did my spouse have an affair? Why did I have an affair? Often what I find are other addictions that are much more acceptable, let's say. There may not be alcoholism, drug addiction, heroin addiction, physical and sexual abuse, which are much more technicolor. Very painful, awful, but much more technicolor. But there are other addictions such as workaholism, perfectionism, toxic religious beliefs, inability to be intimate or vulnerable. For example, they will say, well, I never saw my father cry, or I never really saw my mother laugh. This inheritance is one of intimacy allergy, an inability to be close while separate at the same time. That's a part of the baggage that's a setup for affairs as well. Now, when I talk about extramarital affairs begin in childhood, this is what I mean by systematizing the affair and looking at the larger picture, zooming back. And I think it's very important to systematize an affair. If you just keep an affair within the couple, between the couple, just adding that third person, you're not looking large enough. You're not looking at the map, a bigger map. You're looking too small. And so systematizing that affair is very important for both spouses and for healing as well. Why do I do a video like this one? Because I want to systematize that affair for couples. And remember, whenever I give a video, it's not everything that's involved in having an affair. I don't describe every aspect. I don't describe every bit of pain. So I hope you'll understand that this video is just a general understanding of some parts of an affair. But at least there are important parts that often people don't think about. When I work with couples, certainly we go through a lot of other discussions as well. So why do I do a video like this? Because the couples who do best with extramarital affairs, extramarital affair triangles, have 4 key characteristics. And according to Philip Gurin, in his book, Working with Relationship Triangles, which is an excellent book on relationship triangles, probably more for the professional than maybe the layperson, but most lay people can understand what he's saying. He says these are the couples who do the best. So if you want to see what it takes to recover from an affair, number 1, they understand the process that led them to the affair, or that led you to the affair, and the part that each spouse played in that lead up. I'm not blaming the person who was betrayed. I'm not blaming anyone. I'm trying to understand from a wider perspective how this has happened. Number 2, they shift their respective positions in the current marital process. They're able to become different within the marital process and shift those positions based on gaining a greater understanding of what has happened by looking at a bigger picture. They move slowly and thoughtfully towards a new kind of trust and intimacy in the marital relationship. They think they've had some intimacy in the past. No, they need a new kind of intimacy. They think they've had some trust and then it's been broken. But now they need a new kind of trust and a new kind of intimacy. And then fourthly, the couples that do the best, they come to understand their scripting, and then I added their imprinting from their family of origin. Couples who do these 4 things come through affairs, do well in their relationship, and probably have a much stronger, and do have a much stronger relationship than they ever had before. With all of this baggage that we've brought to our marriage, and all of our family of origin baggage we bring, we then marry and hope for the best. But after a few years or many years of trying and hoping that a marriage would work, we now add kids, careers, in-laws, life stressors, And now the gun is loaded and ready to have the trigger pulled. But it was loaded long before we ever got married. Then we make a bad decision, or pull the trigger, to seek out the comfort and even physical comfort of someone outside the marriage. And this is when many believe the affair starts, though actually the gun has been loaded for many years. What we learn and what we help couples learn, what I help couples to see is to unload the gun, put the gun down, put the gun away, and learn we don't need the gun. And then we aren't set up to have it fire again. I believe it is possible to make your marriage affair-proof if both spouses are willing to do the work. So what is the purpose of extramarital affairs and the relationship triangle with affairs? Well, first it is to contain the tension between the spouses. The spouses are not getting along, there's tension between them, they don't know how to resolve it in a self-differentiated or mature way. So adding a third person contains that tension. And oftentimes, marriages actually seem to get better once you've added an affair partner. Isn't that an interesting fact? Haven't you ever seen that happen with neighbors or couples that you know who've been having an affair, and the husband's going, well, we've had such a good relationship for the last year. We've gotten along better. Yeah, well, she's been having an affair for a year. So of course you're going to get along better because it's containing the tension between the two of you, and vice versa, the man or the woman. Second, to displace the conflict and disperse it with adding a third person to the marriage. Now we don't have to deal with conflict because now it's displaced onto this other relationship and it's dispersed. And so, I don't have to confront my husband about how unhappy I am about X, Y, and Z because I'm getting happy over here. So I don't have to deal with that conflict. We've just dispersed it and we've just displaced it, And then thirdly, we have an extramarital affair to avoid intimacy, authenticity, and selfness within the marriage. Most of the time, when someone starts an affair, they haven't been real or honest, or been able to be real, honest, or authentic with their spouse prior to having an affair. It builds up so long, then they can avoid it and can't tolerate it anymore, and then they avoid it by having an affair. Because they don't have to be intimate, authentic, and have self-differentiation. They avoid that process. The affair allows them to avoid it. Now it becomes catastrophic and it becomes painful and difficult, but we at least put it off for a while. Extramarital affairs reveal a true lack of self-regulation. In other words, we didn't learn a self-regulation or self-differentiation, but self-regulation is another way of saying it, when we were children and growing up. And extramarital affairs demonstrate the need for other regulation rather than self-regulation. Codependency is an other regulation type of relationship. As long as you're okay, I'm okay. When you're unhappy, I'm unhappy. So I need to get you happy so I can be happy. That's other regulation. I'm using you to regulate me. And this, of course, has a long history going back to childhood again. We grew up with unhealthy self-regulation or self-differentiation. We married to regulate ourselves internally. I married you to meet my needs and to help me regulate me. Then we had an affair to regulate ourselves when the marriage failed to perform the task any longer. And then we find somebody else. And so we leave without leaving. But we need somebody else who can regulate our internal pain, problems, dis-ease, discomfort. And so we find someone else. It's just, I don't want to leave you. I've got kids. We got all this. We're all enmeshed in many ways, financially, spiritually, emotionally. So let me just do this side thing, and then I will regulate myself that way. Well, if you want to understand your history, and if you want to understand why an affair happened to you or to your spouse, I hope that you'll contact me for help. It is very difficult to understand and zoom back when we are in the midst of having, leaving, or healing from an affair. It is difficult to be objective or insightful and deal with the pain all at the same time. I really and strongly recommend you get some help. Don't make decisions based on your pain. Make your decision based on a larger map and zooming back. That's how you should make your decision about the marriage. You can contact me and learn more about me at www.familytreecounseling.com. Also, you can see my contact information directly on the screen if you want to contact me directly. I have clients all over the U.S. and foreign countries. Contact me for Skype or FaceTime or professional help. Or you can join me in my office if you live near the Midwest area. Please join our Family Tree Counseling channel on YouTube. And please share my videos with your social media. They are free, and we try to provide good information for those who are hurting. It is free. There's no cost to you to watch these. You can send an email to me for more resources, and I'll be happy to send that information to you. That's free as well. I want to tell you, thank you very much for listening today, and have a great day.